Hi, I'm Lanny, and this is Preserving Today. All right, today I'm going to be answering a question that I get a lot from my workshop attendees as well as my viewers. How do you prevent Kahm yeast? Kahm yeast is yeasts and bacteria that form on the top of a ferment, usually in a white powdery residue covering the entire surface. If it's left to go for a long time, it will form a layer and actually eventually a pellicle, which is like a SCOBY. And the answer to the question really is, I don't always prevent Kahm yeast. Here's a great example. This is my favorite crock, and I use it for my middle-sized batches of ferments, and right now I'm making some dill cucumber pickles. So you can see here the Kahm yeast has gotten out of control. It's covering the entire surface. It's really been left for a while to go. And this is only after about 8 days of fermentation. Now I figure the pickles are done and I want to taste them. So the first thing I'm going to do is scoop the Kahm yeast off. And I do this by just using a soup ladle until I can get these weights out, rinse those off as well, and then I can get to my pickles. After a few days, this Kahm yeast is going to grow back. Even in the fridge, the Kahm yeast could grow again. Pickles are a common ferment that I'm going to end up with Kahm yeast on. And the other one I get Kahm yeast on a lot is both salsa and carrots. Now, if we understand how Kahm yeast grows, we know that it grows better on more sugary ferments. So that makes sense to me that it would grow on my carrots and on my salsa. Both tomatoes and carrots have a higher sugar content than other vegetables. But the other factor is that Kahm yeast likes higher heat temperatures. So if you try to do your fermented vegetables somewhere that's like below 70 degrees Fahrenheit, it'd be ideal, even like 68 degrees or less. And that's where I figure fermented cucumbers comes in. Cucumber season is at the peak of summer, and so when I'm fermenting cucumbers, it's always a hot environment. And I'm usually fermenting, at least during the daytime, temperatures in my house are above 70 degrees. Kahm yeast also likes oxygen. That's why it grows on the surface of the ferments, and you're never going to find it under your brine. So the less oxygen that's in your vessel, the better. If I'm trying to prevent Kahm yeast, I'm going to try to crowd my vessel by adding as much brine as possible and leaving the smallest amount of headspace. It's also good to check your ferments often and skim off anything that might be forming on top. The saltier the brine, the less likely the Kahm yeast is to form. Same with mold. So you could also try to use a 2% salt brine or above. One trick that I've used a few times is to actually sprinkle salt on top of the ferment if you're worried about Kahm yeast starting to grow, or if you do see it starting to grow. Keeping a clean space and utensils is also important, and you can wash all your crocks and jars and lids and weights with hot soapy water and then rinse with vinegar to prevent Kahm yeast from hanging out there and infecting your latest ferment. But the most important thing that I do to prevent Kahm yeast isn't actually prevent it at all. I realize that it's harmless, but it could affect the taste of my fermented vegetables. So I just try to check my ferments often and skim off anything I see growing. All right, that's it for today. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'm Lanny, and this was Preserving Today.